Hello, welcome to Alyssa Jean's Reviews, and this is my review for Star Trek Lower Decks Season 3, Episode 1, Grounded. A spoiler warning is in effect if you have not seen up through Season 3, Episode 1 of Star Trek Lower Decks. So I don't have a lot of time for review this week, so I am not going to be able to do what I used to do last year, where I would go into each storyline and it would be like a 15 to 20 minute review. I'm going to have to be a little more brief this week due to time restraints, so let me jump right into it. So I came into this expecting that we would need at least 2 episodes to wrap up the cliffhanger from season 2, and I said as much to my brother when we did a discussion a few weeks ago on Star Trek, and I thought that we were going to have to do this whole like Star Trek 3 parody with Mariner and the crew stealing the Cerritos and going off to find evidence. And when she mentioned the Klingons in this episode, I'm thinking, oh, that's like from the trailer when she runs into General Martok, and that's going to happen, and it's going to be this whole big thing. But instead, they just kind of wrap it up neatly in 1/2 hour by having all the important stuff happen off screen, even throwing in a little Tuvok for good measure. Now, I'm of 2 minds of this. First of all, in one mind, I see that this is actually kind of brilliant because it stays true to the nature of the show. The show, after all, is called Lower Decks. I did have a fear at times last season where it seemed like the show was making our lower deckers a little too prominent, a little too much like the important heroes who are doing important things, and that kind of defies the nature of the show, that defies the point of the show. So for them to just be these, nincompoops who are messing around with these like weird space whale amoeba thing, what were those things that shock you? Those were very interesting things that they had in this episode. Just to have them be just kind of farting around while the real heroes like Tuvok do the important stuff. That stays true to the nature of the show. So that makes a lot of sense. On the other hand, it makes me question what the point of that whole cliffhanger was to begin with, if we're going to just wrap this up and have it all happen off screen. It seems like the whole point of that cliffhanger at the end of season 2 to leave us hanging for an entire year is just so they can have this little gag where the lower deckers are just farting around and not doing anything important. Seems like they could have done a gag like that without having this silly cliffhanger. And I was on record saying that I didn't love the cliffhanger to begin with. When it happened at the end of season 2, I was not a fan. And now I am even less of a fan, seeing that it was really pointless. There was really no real purpose to it, to be perfectly honest with you. And this is the second season in a row where I felt something like this. I talked about last year at this time with the season 2 premiere that I was disappointed that this Mariner and Captain Freeman dynamic that they had set up at the end of season 1 was just kind of also wrapped up in one episode. So they just need to stop trying to set up things at the end of seasons for the next season, since they just like to just wrap it up in one episode. So let's just not even bother with that. Like, what's the point? And Lower Decks should not be doing cliffhangers. Like, that's not your strength. That's not what Lower Decks is good at. So just stop. So I lean more heavily to the second mind that I just mentioned, the latter opinion that I just threw out there, that it just was kind of a waste of time. But it wasn't really a waste of time. That's not the correct phrasing. It was kind of pointless to have the cliffhanger, but this episode wasn't a waste of time. It's Lower Decks. It was fun to be back in this world again and be back with these characters. We had a lot of fun along the way. Of course, we had some call outs and references. We had the Cisco's restaurant, even though we did see that in the trailer. But I really enjoyed all of the Star Trek First Contact references and how they had the holographic Zephyr Cochrane and all of those sorts of things. And the whole gag with the elderly grandpa transporter chief who is like, you wouldn't be here to try to knock me out and steal my transporter like everybody else, would you? Like, that was fun. Going through Boimler's logs and hearing all those embarrassing things. I mean, that was fun. So there's fun to be had along the way, don't get me wrong. And in general, I'm just glad to be back with these characters. But overall, I'm glad that they got this stupid cliffhanger out of the way now, and now we can just move on with the season, because they never should have had that cliffhanger to begin with. So let me go ahead and wrap this up with my rating out of 10. As I said, I don't have a lot of time to do a review this week. So my rating out of 10, with 1 being the lowest and 10 being the highest possible score for Lower Decks Season 3, Episode 1, is a 7. Might be a little bit of a generous 7. I think it's getting the season premiere bump because I'm just so excited to be back with these characters and be back in this world again. And so maybe it otherwise might have been a 6, but I'm going to give it a 7. Very solid 7, because I did have fun, even if that whole cliffhanger was completely pointless. So 7 out of 10, and I look forward to next week. And I might add, I look forward to watching Lower Decks and She-Hulk back to back. I love that they come out at the same time because they are both more lighthearted entries into an otherwise more serious universe. This week I give the edge to She-Hulk. I actually enjoyed the She-Hulk episode more this week than Lower Decks, but I have a feeling that'll kind of go back and forth. And overall, I really enjoy that I get to watch both of these shows back to back. But I won't be reviewing She-Hulk until the season is done. Lower Decks, however, I will review again next week, so I will be back to review Season 3, Episode 2. I'm going to be late on my review because I am going to be out of town from Thursday morning through Monday. So my episode 2 review is going to be super late. It's going to be out on what is Labor Day in the United States, Monday, September, what is that, the 4th or 5th, whatever that date is. That's when my episode 2 review will be out. It'll be super late. But then after that, I'll be back on schedule for Thursday release dates for my Lower Decks reviews. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. I will see you soon. Goodbye.